Hello and welcome to this Arise News special interview. I'm Charles Anyekol, and this year General Yakubu Gowon, the youngest political and military leader to rule Nigeria, turns 91. He was just 31 when that awesome responsibility fell on his shoulders, and he presided over the affairs of this country from 1966 to 1975. He came to office at a turbulent time in this country's history after two military coups in 1966. The first one that led to the killing of Nigeria's Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, and the second, 6 months later, that saw the assassination of the head of state, General Aburi Accord. General Gowon subsequently ruled this country for 9 years before another coup removed him from office. It was during his reign that Nigeria's bloody civil war took place, lasting for 30 months. As he accepted the surrender of Biafran forces, he declared that there'd be no victor and no vanquished, a declaration that was seen around the world as a magnanimous gesture of post-war reconciliation. 55 years later, as he celebrates the milestone of exceeding the age of 90, how does he think Nigeria has evolved in all that time? And I'm delighted to say that Nigeria's former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, joins me now. General Gowon, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
It is so nice to see you. So nice to see you.
To say that we're honored is an understatement. You became head of state, as I mentioned in the intro there, at the very tender age of 31. I mean, that must have been an extraordinary challenge for you. And I'm wondering how prepared you were for what clearly must have been a very difficult role.
Yes, indeed, it was 31 going 32. And I've had a good upbringing from home, from school, from my various military training, and of course, brought up in a very strict religious condition.
So you fell back?
So I fell back on all that. Yes, I was not prepared, simply for to rule Nigeria, but I was as a loyal soldier, to be loyal to my country, to be loyal to my head of state, and to love my country. So I thought I had that one, that upbringing. And so, I was the military training, especially at the staff college level, teaching you how to deal with any issue, any problem, whether you know it or not. How to appreciate, we used to call it, appreciate the situation, and then evolve into, many courses open to you to deal with that particular problem, after which you can then choose one of those that you think should be able to at the end result that you wanted. So that upbringing and training certainly helped me in a lot of ways. But certainly I was not trained to rule, but at least trained, given sufficient upbringing to be able to either deal with the situation the best way you can. But of course, you know that you cannot do it alone. You have other people around you. And if you can relate with them as well, so that you can all together your various duties.
Right. So it was a collective responsibility, although you were obviously the prime leader.
Absolutely.
Right. And of course, you came to office at that young age, let's not forget that, on the heels of the January 1966 and the July 1966 coup and counter coup. And that was a hugely destabilizing period for Nigeria. Was that what motivated you at the time to create 12 new states to replace the four regions?
No. Well, creation of 12 states, four regions. Yes, you have four regions, but it is the demand for the various communities that made me either to think of why don't you, in order to satisfy their wishes, why don't you, if I mean, also create inner states to satisfy them? And this is from the demand of the people. That came as a result of what happened January 66.
You talked about, General Gowon, about the fact that a lot of the people who were killed, those military officers, were from the north. Did that make General Aburi Accord position from the very beginning almost untenable as someone from the south?
I did not know what was happening in Nigeria before that, because I was right in the UK on the coast. But I think some of the stories that you hear, there was from that is part of the reaction. But probably I'll come to that riot. Yes.
I mean, because the reason I asked that is that General Aburi Accord was assassinated literally 6 months after that first, because, and obviously there would have been brewing resentment towards him, because in a sense he personified to the people from the other side what they felt had been inflicted upon them.
Yes, I think honestly that could be the part of the reason, but the feeling I know later, because one of the feeling was that that from the other side was being was still considering finishing the unfinished symphony.
So you were not aware of the fact that there was going to be a counter coup in July 1966?
No, not at all. Until that very night,
right?
That very night, early morning, when I was woken up to say something had happened in Abeokuta, and before you know it, I think it has spread in the whole world. And I was on telephone trying to find out that I know that Generossi was in Ibadan for meeting with all the traditional rulers, and just to warn him that God is this person and should do it. He should be very careful. That of course
it was too late.
Too late. By the time I got in the government house telephone, unfortunately, already something had happened. But the instruction that I gave the senior officer in charge at that time was to make sure that if he was kept safe and taken safe somewhere until God is able to sort out the insurrection that had already started and what had to prepare.
Right. So he was then assassinated.
Unfortunately.
How did you become aware that you've been chosen to become the next head of state, to replace him, essentially?
Well, it is from after the effort of the chief of staff in headquarters going to be, I think, attempt to try to to bring law and order in the battalion. And of course, unfortunately, the troops that he sent certainly decimated. And then, of course, it has to come to me. Us then, like the acting chief of the chief of staff, to go to Ikeja to try and see if I can sort out the problem. And of course, I think at that time, that is where a lot of big crisis for a number of days. There was no government, and all the civil servants, you are worried because of system of government that was done at that time. So there was all sort of efforts, either from them, either for me to go and put things right in Ikeja. And of course, one day, police further they normally ask their former Attorney General, but only at that time, I was German party chief. So that probably may help. They listen to me, and if I'm in I said, we just got to make sure that things I put right, and we did. So with civil servants, certainly came, they wanted to make contact with the most senior officer, military officer, to give them, the instruction. Since, the old system is still like military, that was in control. But I didn't tell you the story how, I was from the contact between the civil servants, and also some of the foreign, British and American, ambassadors or high commissioned, had to come and see before come and see, to wish to find out who, who is the leader of the insurrection, but at the time, in order to make sure that at least things is going on. And so they came, and they saw me. And of course, there was discussion there from to what is happening, and the head of state. I didn't want it. I want to remain the secretary, to remain either as minister or get into GRC or minister of in order to ensure that we restore the discipline and loyalty of the polity of the army, in support of tradition,
But they offered it to you.
But in the end, of course, has offered it to the junior officers if they want to, and any of them wanted to, the gender, our the less was to look after the population, to restore loyalty, discipline, and loyalty for the act. But however, in the end, in fact, most of the young officers, they say that I'm the only one that they would accept. That is irrespective from any of the group in the army. So, although I was not in the most senior, there were senior people now, or DDP, and others, but unfortunately, they said they did not want anybody but for me to give them the leadership. And so that was how the leadership came to me.
And of course, subsequent to that January 66 coup,